trans fats. What are they? What do they do to you? And how do you avoid them? There's lots of controversy in the world of nutrition, but trans fats are not one of them. They've been known for a long time to increase your risk of heart disease. So what are trans fats? Trans fats are vegetable oils that have undergo a chemical process called hydrogenation. And this really makes them last longer. They're more resistant to degradation. So they're used a lot in processed foods such as cakes or margarines as a classic, and really they're more economical because they last much longer. It gives products shelf life. In terms of products, for example, in the 1980s, margarines contained about 10 to 20% trans fats, which is quite a high concentration. Also found in shortenings, donuts, cookies, cakes, the kinds you find pre-packaged baked. And always look at the label on the back and look out for those words, those magic words, partially hydrogenated fats or partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. And if you see that, leave it, walk away. Or, to be fair, most supermarkets, at least here in the UK, have taken a really proactive approach to these, and most of their products on the shelves are quite low in trans fats. And I think it's been shown in the UK that most people don't eat very many trans fats compared to some other countries where there's less regulation. So what do these trans fats do to you? The most recent review has come out of a medical journal called the BMJ. So just a bit more detail about this study. What they did is they pulled together 50 different studies that have been published before in good journals. And they set about looking for trends within this data, and they tried to look at the increased risk from heart disease and diabetes, cardiovascular disease, specifically against saturated fats and also trans fats. The findings were quite interesting. The first thing that they found was, surprisingly perhaps, that saturated fats were not associated with an increased risk of heart disease. Now, this is for another blog because there's been more and more evidence that seems to be coming out in the literature that saturated fats are not the bad guy. But that's for another blog. Here we're talking about trans fats. So trans fats were associated with increased mortality and an increase in heart disease. So overall, this study found that there was a 34% increase in all-cause mortality and also a 21% increase of the chance of getting heart disease. So substantial increases. And you know this is a substantial increase because heart disease is a big killer. So any increase in something that's so common is going to be a big factor. It's the same for all-cause mortality. You don't want any increase in all-cause mortality, so a 34% increase is substantial. So at present, it seems to be that all the evidence again is going in the same direction, and it is avoid trans fats. If you want to avoid an increase in cardiovascular disease, which is really common anyway, avoid trans fats. But the good thing on the plus side is that avoiding these things is pretty easy. Always check the label. Partially hydrogenated vegetable fat or vegetable oils. As ever, I'll put the links down to these some of these reading materials so you can follow them up. And as always, I always say it, don't believe me, believe the evidence, believe the scientific evidence. So read the scientific literature and make your own decision. And just an end note, my job is an academic, a science academic, and all I do, or what I've trained for, is to read scientific information. Sometimes that message is good for us, sometimes it's bad for us, but it doesn't matter. All it does is to give you knowledge, and that knowledge is based on evidence. You've got to make your decisions based on evidence. And if you do that, then you know you're making decisions that are as truthful as possible. Especially when it's as clear-cut as this, as avoiding trans fats to lower heart disease, especially when heart disease is so common. Heart disease is so common that any reduction in the chance of having heart disease is worth taking, and it's such a simple thing to do. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time.